Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about our journey in terms of converting from hot cut back bitumen to embracing emulsion within New Zealand. This has culminated in New Zealand Transport Agency mandating the use of emulsion over the use of hot cut back bitumen from July 2024, which is a great result from the industry. And certainly one that we're very proud of as a team as well. But this journey started out much before this, way back in 2009, where we started seriously considering moving away from hot cut back bitumen due to some of the serious inherent safety risks associated with it. And the thing that really hit home for me back then is we were going around the world looking at potential emulsion plants to help us deliver some of these solutions. And we happened to go to Portugal to visit a plant, and there was one guy there, couldn't speak a word of English, but he once he found out that we were still using hot cut back bitumen, he kept looking at us, laughing, shaking his head, and just going, boom. And you know, realised that he just thought we were crazy to still even be thinking about using hot cut back bitumen, and that was a real eye-opener for me, in the sense that what we considered to be common practice, he thought was just absolutely crazy. And if you delve into it, he's probably not too far off the mark. You think about how our kerosene is one of the key components of cutback bitumen. We added up from 3 to 12 parts of this to a binder. But you also got to remember the flash point of kerosene is about 39 degrees, so pretty low. And we're adding it to a product that is sprayed at 170 degrees. So when you think about this, it's not surprising we have some issues. What could really go wrong if you're adding something in there that has a flash point of 39 degrees and heating it up to 170? It seems absolutely crazy on paper, and some of the things that happen look much like this, so it's not surprising we have fires, explosions and burns resulting in some pretty serious injuries, and in some cases sadly some fatalities as well. So there's some serious risks, and it's not surprising our Portuguese friend thought we were actually crazy to use it. And not only there's some serious personal harm effects, certainly there's a lot of major concerns for the environment too. So whenever we're spraying hot cut back bitumen, that kerosene is actually being atomized to the atmosphere. And what we see is about 50% of it is vaporized upon spraying, which is those big clouds of smoke you see coming out of the back of the sprayer there. And then the other 50% evaporates from the seal within about 60 days. So in New Zealand alone, it's a much smaller market than Australia. We're probably emitting about 3,500 tonnes of kerosene to atmosphere every sealing season. So for a country that's meant to be clean and green, this is a serious amount of hydrocarbon we're sending out to the environment. And not only that, you think about the serious risks to people's safety as well, in terms of having breathing insolvents and things like that. It's not nice at all. So as an industry, we're looking at how can we move away from using hot cut back bitumen, and how can we change what we consider to be common practice and acceptable practice. There's some serious risks there associated with hot cut back bitumen, and we need to change that practice. The thing we looked to was actually the health and safety legislation in New Zealand. And if you look at that, I'm not going to bore you too much with legislation, but some really key points in here that we need to focus on. And if you're a person conducting a business in New Zealand, you have some duties that you must meet, and you really need to be focused on your duty is to eliminate risks so far as reasonably practicable. And if you can't eliminate that risk, you need to minimise it. So first and foremost, if you can eliminate, you should do so. But as long as it's reasonably practicable. And that sounds a little bit hard to determine. So luckily they've given us a good definition around how do you measure whether something's reasonably practicable. And what we see here is, I'm not going to get you to read all of that, but thankfully I've highlighted all the key points in here for you. So for something to be considered reasonably practicable, you need to have a likelihood of the hazard, you need to understand the degree of harm that hazard will cause, you need to have availability and suitable ways of eliminating that hazard. And then finally, after you've done all of this, you can assess whether the cost is grossly disproportionate to the risk. So can you actually afford to eliminate this risk? But that's one thing we seem to get a little bit mixed up sometimes in the industry, is where we focus on the cost first and then forget about eliminating the risk. So really important you remember through this is that the cost comes last after you've established whether we can eliminate that risk and it's reasonably practicable. So if we apply the test of whether something is reasonably practicable to emulsion, well, if we look at the current state with hot cutback bitumen and look at the likelihood of an incident occurring with hot cutback bitumen, we've got some stats here from the industry in New Zealand. So for every 100,000 tonnes of bitumen we spray, we have about 12 incidences that result in a safety event. So if you ever look at a risk matrix there for health and safety, if you're having that many incidences, you'd probably say it's quite likely that this risk will eventuate. So it certainly ticks the box for it's the likelihood of the hazard. If we're looking at the degree of harm, well, out of those 12 incidences we have for every 100,000 tonnes we spray, we know that 0.2 of them will result in a fatality, and about 8.7 will result in a serious harm event. So that's where we have a lost time injury or a medical treatment injury. So some pretty serious consequences. And only about 2.8 of them will result in a minor harm or near miss. So this is where it might be just first aid. And so if you consider that, every time we have an event with hot cutback bitumen, there's a 75% chance it's going to cause some serious harm, and also has the potential for fatality. So we've certainly established that the risk of using this product has some serious consequences and a serious degree of harm to it as well. But before we move on, you have to consider whether is emulsion actually any better? Does it actually eliminate this risk? So if you compare the same stats with emulsified bitumen in New Zealand side by side, well, on the left-hand side there you can see emulsified bitumen has the same total incident rate, or very similar, maybe a little bit lower at 10.6 versus 11.7. But what we really see here is we don't have any incidences of serious harm or fatalities when using emulsified bitumen, where everything is in the minor harm or near miss category. So what you can see here is that use of emulsion does eliminate risk of serious harm. So it ticks those first two boxes in terms of whether it's reasonably practicable. The next one is where emulsion has fallen down in the past. So for this one to be true, we need emulsion to be able to do everything that a hot cutback can do in terms of the way it can deliver seal types into the network. And in the past, I have to admit, our emulsion products haven't been up to scratch. So when we first started on this journey back in 2009, emulsion definitely wasn't a suitable replacement for hot cutback bitumen. It couldn't do everything a hot cutback could do, and therefore it failed the test of whether it's reasonably practicable. And some of the feedback we had from the selling crews at the time, they always give you very honest and direct feedback, which I love, is things like, due to the low viscosity of the products we're supplying, they'll just call it, it's just dirty water, it's going to run off the road if you try and spray it at more than a litre a square, it takes too long to cure, and therefore you get caught out with rain. And they did say you can't spray it in the rain, but I've never seen a hot cutback seal work very well in the rain either, to be honest. And the other one was it's unstable. So we tended, back then we used to make our products really unstable to try and get them to cure faster. But the consequence of that is you got delayed by rain at all. Your product would fall apart in the tank, and which caused a serious issue. And that's my favourite one, is right at the bottom there, where people would say to us, "Oh, why would you want to even do your emulsion anyway? Cutback is safe if you follow the rules," which is almost laughable if you look at some of the stats I just showed you before. It certainly still isn't safe, even though we've got a whole heap of rules and processes in place that should minimise the risk, which it certainly isn't. So to overcome this, we went through a significant period of product development. We had some very good feedback that we needed to work on, and we worked pretty hard at this to create a product that today I can honestly say it's a viable alternative to hot cutback bitumen. And the way we went about this was not trying to replicate things that other people were doing within the industry around the world. It was actually looking outside our industry. So we're looking at things like cosmetics, paints, food. They all make emulsions. They do it much better than us, and they're probably 20 years ahead of us in terms of the technology available. So through that, we're actually able to create a product that we spray today that I can honestly say it's probably one of the world leading products. Some of the real highlights for us is we've got much faster cure times. Our base product's about 8 times faster. Our latest iteration of it has allowed us to do night and winter sealing, so we've got additives in our product and our systems now which can actually really speed the cure over emulsions to the point where we can actually almost seal all year round in a multitude of different conditions, and very cold temperatures, high humidities, and really change the way we're operating to the point where it's actually outperforming hot cutback and extending our season. Alongside that, we have product specific weather forecasts, so we've got an app called Zeus within our teams, which they can dial up, look at what the weather is that's directly related to our product performance, so they can go out and know exactly where they can seal with our products, how long they've got, when they need to stop by, and pick the best areas to be sealing to improve productivity. We've got very storage stable products now, so we've been able to ship it across the other side of the world in containers for over a month, 2 months time, and still be able to pump it out the other end and it still have no issues with storage stability. And the big one is we've seriously modified the viscosity of these products, and now they're not just dirty water. They actually come out. We can spray them, very high application rates, over 3 litres a square, on 20% grades as well, not have them run off the road. And it's certainly, if you look at some of our testing, we can probably outperform even hot cutback bitumen in that regards. And probably the really important thing is that, like I said before, the sealing crews give you the most honest, direct, and feedback you can imagine. For them to come away and tell us that our product is a game changer is probably the best amount of feedback you can get from them, in terms of showing that, hey, we've actually developed something that is a viable alternative to hot cutback bitumen, and where the crews are actually preferentially using this over cutback now. So if you fast forward to today, in 2023, we can consider our emulsion to be a suitable alternative to cutback, which really satisfies that point D now in terms of whether something's reasonably practicable. So we've managed to cover off all of those. Emulsion eliminates the risk. It's got and it's also a suitable replacement to eliminate that risk. The last one is whether the cost is actually grossly disproportionate to the risk. And emulsion is always going to be more expensive than just using hot cutback bitumen. Emulsion is a manufactured product, so it's going to come with an additional cost. The test for this really comes down to the road controlling authority now. So they need to identify whether it's the cost outweighs the risk, and that normally isn't. It comes down to a bit of a legal review as well. As an industry in New Zealand, we engaged with the New Zealand Transport Agency. They conducted an independent report on this, and the outcome of this was actually, the cost was not grossly disproportionate to the risk, and they recognised that emulsion does eliminate some serious hazards associated with hot cutback bitumen, and it should be used over hot cutback bitumen. So it satisfies that final one, and what What has happened since then is of June 2021, they released a technical advice note notifying the industry that the New Zealand Transport Agency was going to move away from using hot cutback bitumen to using bitumen emulsion for all their sealing works on the state highway as of July 2024, which is a huge step, and really great to see that they've recognised that, hey, we've got an ability to eliminate this risk, and fronting up to make sure it happens. So with that one covered off, now we consider emulsion as a reasonably practicable alternative to hot cutback bitumen. And because it eliminates the risk associated with cutback, we actually can consider it to be under the Health and Safety Act, well, actually this should be used over and above hot cutback bitumen. Important to remember that product development was the key to making sure that it was a viable solution, along with some pretty strong industry engagement to make sure that all these things were covered off. It was recognised by the road controlling authorities that, hey, this is actually, we've got something here, we want to move forward as an industry and eliminate this risk, and we've got something here through the product development that has occurred within the industry, that we've got a viable solution here for this risk. So if I can leave you one thought today is, please can we stop accepting common practice. So when it comes to hot cutback bitumen, just because it's common practice doesn't mean it's best practice, and we need to move away from that and think about how we can actually eliminate some of these pretty serious risks and move forward as an industry. Well, I appreciate your attention today, and if you are interested in more about how we've developed our products and some of the benefits that may be associated with, please jump on LinkedIn with some good articles and videos there to help you understand some of our products, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So thank you very much.